Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 207 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is one of the most popular fish in the aquarium trade, and many people have probably had this fish in their aquarium. And more than likely probably went bad for them, but let's do some education and help some of these people out. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is, bam, the Midas cichlid. Now, the Midas cichlid, or scientific name Amphilophus citronellus, again, that's Amphilophus citronellus. It is part of the family Cichlidae, which is the family of cichlids. And we've talked about cichlids multiple times before. It's a very large family. But the Midas cichlid is native to South America, and it's more specifically found in the San Juan River and its adjacent watersheds in Costa Rica and Nicaragua. Now, I say they're found in the San Juan River, but they're really found in placid, slower moving waters and more popular around like lakes almost. I believe these fish are actually more commonly found in like volcanic lakes. Still might be in the San Juan River watershed, but you're probably going to find these in very slow moving waters and lakeside. That's what, by the way, that's what placid means. And you're going to find these at depths from about 1 to 35 meters, which is around 3 to 115 feet. And you're predominantly going to find these in areas with plenty of rocks and tree roots, not necessarily with a lot of vegetation. We'll get into why that is in just a minute. Now, this fish is what I would call a medium-sized fish. Definitely not larger than some people, and for the aquarium trade, it's very large. But in terms of actual size, I would call this fish... Excuse me. I'm still recovering from my field work. This would be much more of a medium-sized fish. It is larger for a cichlid, I will give it that. And they'll range anywhere from 25 to 35 centimeters, which is around 10 to 14 inches. Now, the Midas cichlid is a very thick body cichlid, and you can see that here. Very, very thick body, heavily built, kind of bulldog-ish. And they do have these pointed dorsal and anal fins, very rounded caudal fin. Something that I've always taken a note is that, to me, it seems like their lateral line pore scales are very deep pores and kind of larger and more widely spaced. Kind of your general cichlid shape, I guess. But all will develop a nuchal hump on their heads, and that is actually a good way to sex them. Is males will actually have a larger hump on their head, whereas females will just develop like a slight hump, right? And it's even hard to see in this female right here, but from there. Now, in terms of coloration, one reason why I picked this picture right here is this is what you would more likely see Midas cichlids looking like in the wild. Kind of similar to one that we've talked about before, the Jack Dempsey cichlid. You have these bars with blotches down the back, kind of this darker gray, olive green, blackish coloration. I think they're beautiful, but in captivity, you're going to find them more yellow or orange or red or any combination of them. Why people think this is a more beautiful coloration than this, don't know, but people pay for what they want, basically. I should also mention that apparently in the wild, the nuchal hump will come and go in breeding season. Versus in captivity, they seem to keep their nuchal hump all the time. So, they're still colorful in their own way. But, me, I like wild type forms, basically. Now they do have very highly developed teeth, both their normal set of teeth and their pharyngeal teeth, which are their teeth in their throat. We've talked about pharyngeal teeth often. And they also have these spiny rays in their dorsal and anal fins. So they're, handled with care, basically. That's very common along cichlids. They got that spiny dorsal and anal fin, so not too uncommon there. Yeah, it's just kind of a bulldog of a fish. It's a bulldog of a cichlid. Very thick, very there. Now, they do grow very, very fast when they're young. Growth drastically slows when they're about 7 months old. But until then, they grow about an inch per month, which is more than likely a physiological adaptation to predators in the wild. And speaking of predators in the wild, this is an omnivorous fish. They eat everything. They'll eat plants, they'll eat mollusks, and they'll eat smaller fish. Anything they can get their mouth around, these fish will eat, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. I say it's a good thing is because in captivity, they're actually one of the easier fish to take care of in terms of feeding. A lot of people fail on aquarium fish in terms of their feeding regimen. What they're feeding these fish. The Midas cichlid is very adapted to a wide variety of foods, so you actually just want to give it a wide variety of foods. Shrimp pellets, fish flakes, algae discs, things like that. Lettuce, they'll take care of it. The issue becomes not with how to feed Midas cichlids, it's what kind of aquarium decor you should have. And I say that is because Midas cichlids are actually very, very avid diggers. These are, oh my goodness, what should I'm blanking on the term right now. Landscape engineers. These fish are the epitome of landscape engineers. They really manipulate their environment and get it exactly how they want. And once they set their little territory up, they will defend it super aggressively. They're very, very avid diggers. Because they're very avid diggers, that means that sand substrate is actually best for this fish. If you go with like thicker gravel, you'll actually cause a lot of damage to the fish because they're still going to try and dig through that thicker gravel. They're just not going to be very successful. Now, there's all that debate of what best substrate for an aquarium is, which substrates are best. I personally don't like sand. Okay, I shouldn't say that. I like a layer of sand-like stuff on the very bottom of my aquarium, and then I like a thin layer of very small gravel above that sand. And there's a whole lot of reasonings behind that I'm not going to get into. But I would not design an aquarium with any gravel if the Midas cichlid was in mine. And because of their diet and the fact that they're avid diggers, you really don't want to have plants, live plants, in an aquarium with Midas cichlids. And basically that's because they're either going to completely uproot them and move them away, or they're going to eat them. They will destroy plants. So yeah, just don't do it. If you're going to have a Midas cichlid in your tank, I highly give the advice of no plants, no live plants. Fake plants, you can always just kind of like put them back, but more than likely go with like rock formations, like hand make rock formations. You can do like log branches, things like that. Just be aware that once they make their little rock cave, which they will do, they're going to be kind of aggressive towards other fish. They seem to actually be pretty affectionate towards owners. But that leads me to another piece of advice when dealing with Midas cichlids. It's probably not a bad idea to use some aquarium safe underwater glue for these rocks to make sure that the rock doesn't accidentally fall on fish. It has happened. Do not think it hasn't. when they're digging all throughout this, trying to do their digging stuff, they can cause a lot of disturbance, and they could easily have a rock fall on them and injure them. So be careful, and just be aware. Either go with like larger rocks, or like I said, glue the rocks together. But now for the interesting fact we're going to end the video on, and it's so good to see that. I know we've been a little lax these last 2 weeks. Sorry, I've just been trying to survive in that swamp. But for the interesting fact we're going to end the video on is that even though this is a very, very popular fish, it is very, very commonly confused with the red devil cichlid. And in fact, they do hybridize, so there is a little bit in there. They are in the same genus, but the red devil is a different species. And they're even found in the same sort of areas. But the red devil cichlid is another common one. But the biggest issue is I have seen these in pet stores, and I bet many people who have, gone after Midas cichlids or know what they're looking for have seen this as well. I have seen Midas cichlids posted as red devils, and I've seen red devils posted as Midas, and I've seen posts as like Midas / red devils. So just be very aware, and they're kind of difficult to tell apart. Essentially, how you tell them apart is the Midas is a little bit smaller by about an inch. So I don't really like size, but devil cichlids have a slightly pointier mouth with this very larger, thicker lips. Here's another picture here. You can see here. That's, that really kind of more pointed in terms of like this sort of bulldog-ish sort of style. Just be very, very careful. Now, they're probably going to act about the same for most people in the aquariums. I wouldn't worry too much. It's if you start mixing them, there could be some territorial disputes, even though you wouldn't think there should be. But, basically it boils down to the interesting fact is just make sure you know what you're buying. Make sure you do your research before you buy any fish. Make sure you know how to take care of them. Make sure you know what you're getting. And make sure that you're getting the fish that you're paying for. Make sure I am buying a red devil cichlid, and I know I am actually buying a red devil cichlid, not a Midas cichlid, or vice versa. The caveat to that, I'm just going to be completely honest. The suckermouth catfish, all like the Rhinoloricarias, the hypostomus, the plecostomus, they're their own thing. And there's numerous people out there that have dedicated their entire lives just to tell the species apart and tell the different subspecies apart and tell the different color morphs apart. They're going to be the ones to go to for those. They're very difficult. But I'm just specifically talking about this fish, aquarium fish in general. Make sure you know what you're getting. Yes, it's probably going to work out, but still better to be educated and know what you're getting. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. I love seeing those comments. They've really helped me these past 2 weeks. Thank you so much for supporting me when I know that I've kind of dropped the ball on the Fish Fridays. But if you'd like, if you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated. Regardless, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace. So good to say that.